The last characteristic we're going to talk about is elopement. You see the definition right there. An individual leaves an area without permission or notification, which usually leads to placing that individual in a potentially dangerous situation. While I was doing my research and everything to put this class together, I made it a point to start to talk to some parents of other individuals who are on the spectrum. So I was talking to one parent while I was waiting for my son to finish his therapy, and she was talking about, she was sitting at the intersection of Preston and Outer Loop, which we all know is a really busy intersection, and her son decides just to get out of the car and proceed to walk across the intersection. He is taller than her, bigger than her, okay? So she was going to have a difficult time. Fortunately, there was also a therapist sitting there at the intersection and helped to kind of corral him back into the car. But he just decided to get out just because he wanted to. There was nothing really stressful going on, okay? So that's one reason. And I also kind of mentioned the second reason that they may elope is they are trying to leave a stressful situation. The third being they're trying to return to a situation which was pleasurable for them, okay? About half the autism community will elope or bolt from a safe environment. They are 8 times more likely to elope than their neurotypical siblings. You heard Heidi use this term once, and I'll kind of explain it. Neurotypical. Okay, we don't use the word normal in the autism world. Okay, what's normal? You know, there are, you know, say except for maybe Kuster, everybody in here is pretty neurotypical. Okay, all right, but several different types of personalities in here. Justin, I picked somebody. Okay, you know, but everybody's everybody in here is neurotypical, but everybody in here is different. Okay, so that's the why we use that term. About 1/3 of those that elope are not able to communicate their name, their address, or their phone number. Okay, maybe it would tell you everything that you ever want to know about Lord of the Rings. Okay, but can't tell you that simple information. Okay. Unfortunately, some of these cases end in the death of the individual. We just had one happen here in July. Okay, the family was from here. They traveled to just north of Indianapolis to visit some other family. He got out of the house and they found him dead in a pond. Okay, and you see the statistics right there. Between 2009 and 2011, 91% of those died from accidental drowning. For whatever reason, individuals with autism love the water. Okay, and we really don't know why. I kind of speculate, and here's what I think. Sensory stimulation, okay? Now think about the water. Sun shining, you get that glittering across the surface of the water, or the wind blows, or you throw a rock in it, you get that ripple effect that can be really soothing. It's soothing for us, okay? Maybe the texture of the water, or when you get into the water, that pressure that you get, that squeeze that you get from being in water. But for whatever reason, they love it, okay? 68% of those that pass away are found in a nearby pond, lake, creek, or river. Now, elopement is one of the big cases why 911 gets called, okay? So one of the first questions we need to ask when we get on scene, if it's a case of elopement, is what? Yeah, where's the water? All right, now, we generally know our first alarm areas pretty well. Okay, as an example, say Engine 12. They've got that big lake right there at Manslick and the Waterson Expressway. Okay, 3/4 of our city is surrounded by a river. All right, we know our first alarms. We probably know what public pools are. Okay, the pool in Camp Taylor, is that your O's or Quentin Nine's first alarm? Pretty close though. Okay, but a public pool. All right, what you may not know, private ponds or private pools. Okay, so you need to ask those questions. You know, anybody around here have a pool? Have they been there before? Those kind of things. Okay, and that's the first places we're going to look. All right. 2012, 2014, there were 337 reported cases of elopement within the United States. Unfortunately, 16% of those were lethal. Okay, this happens a lot where the individuals get out, okay? And the families will search for a while. A lot of times, as an example, they may be, just next door. They snuck into the neighbor's house and they've snuck down to the basement, and that's where they find them. And 911 never gets called, okay? These are cases where 911 was called, okay? So that's elopement, excuse me. All right, so now what we're going to talk about is the fact that there's already been interaction. Thousands of incidences already between first responders and the autism community, okay? These are just a few that I kind of picked out, kind of talk about each one of these. But the first one there is really close to home. Family of autistic girl still struggling, okay, out of Jackson County, and that was reported by Lexington. These next two right here, both out of Philadelphia, where individuals died. Okay, and all three of these died in house fires, as well as number 4, that one out of Georgia. What happened in all 4 of these instances is this. House caught fire. The individual was escorted from their home by a caregiver, okay? But you guys have just learned all these characteristics, okay? Their world has been turned upside down, all right? Got all this sensory stimulation coming in, fire trucks showing up, people screaming, okay? Their world is going up in flames, okay? They're being taken away from that house, and they may not even know the impending danger, and that's what happened with these individuals. They pulled away from their caretakers, and they rushed back in, okay? And unfortunately, all of them died. Found, one was found in the closet, another one underneath their bed. Probably their places of comfort, okay, where they feel safe. Number 5, firefighter calls Mayday while battling fire and autistic man both become trapped. What happened in this case, structure fire, fire department shows up, hey, there's somebody still inside, okay, and then we do what we do, or they did what we always do, okay. They go in, start to do their search, firefighter gets separated from his team, but he does find the individual with autism. Okay, and at that point, they're on the opposite end of the house of the main body of fire. Okay, so of course the firefighter's like, all right, let's go. He grabs him and tries to pull him out, and the autistic man the gentleman with autism is not leaving. All right, so they start to fight. Firefighter's helmet gets ripped off, his face piece gets ripped off. He manages to get a hold of his radio. Call a Mayday. RIT team comes in and rescues both of them. Firefighter suffers from some minor burns, smoke inhalation as well for the gentleman with autism, as well as third-degree burns on like 15% of his body. Okay, we say all this, and there's many, many more, and there have been plenty, and the media has really picked up on lately instances with the police. Okay, and that really doesn't apply to us, but I say it to tell you all, Dan and I had an experience a few months ago with an individual, okay? Several years ago, 28th and Griffith, and this came from Colonel Delaney, okay? Some of you guys were there, all right? That gentleman was 30 and apparently had the mind of a 6-, 7-year-old, and yes, he ran back into the house, all right? Colonel Delaney remembers seeing him several times walking up and down Portland streets with a small hand rake. That was his object of comfort. Probably what he was going after, or possibly what he was going after, okay? So it's happened here, and it's going to happen again, all right? During Heidi's presentation, you saw some clips of Sheldon, okay? You saw a clip of Jason. My son, which I will talk about some more, was diagnosed with Asperger's before 2013, before that change in the DSM, okay? All individuals considered to be high functioning, all right? Now we're going to see Jamie. Jamie is severely impacted by his autism. So we're going to play this clip, and I want y'all to notice a couple things. First of all, the time lapses. Mom does a really good job of narrating all this. She is the blonde you will see in the video. Also want you to note how, the size of Jamie himself, okay?
right, on the count of 3,
No.
I'll grab this one. 1, 2, 3. I got this one.
Come on, Jamie.
Grab this arm. I documented this for 2-to-1 purposes. Okay. Here, look at the TV. Look. This is for 2-to-1 purposes. Okay, let's get him on the ground. Where's he bleeding? I got him here. What did he do? Bite his hand? Shit. Yeah. Okay. James, come on. Come on, James. Okay, let's get him in the chair. Get him in the chair. Let's hold him there. You got him? Shit, are you okay? I'm fine. Yeah, put it on.
This video goes on for 10 to 15 more minutes, and then she narrates for quite some time and lets us know everything that's going on. We delete all that just for time. But one thing that she does say is that it takes 6 to 7 firemen and 2 police officers to restrain him onto the stretcher when EMS arrives. Okay, and y'all saw Jamie. Okay, wasn't a big kid. Okay, but that's the effect of his agitation that has. Okay, so be aware of that.
Was the lady with the ponytail giving was that his mom or another?
That was his mom. Yeah. So what is actually going on with Jamie? Now, Jamie's actually experiencing a medical problem. Okay, not always the issue why an individual is displaying this kind of behaviors or even having a meltdown, but it can be a cause. They get Jamie to the hospital, and they can't get him calmed down, and everybody is stumped, including the ER physician. So finally it occurs to Mom that Jamie is in pain. So the ER doc's like, okay. So they give him like 2 to 4 milligrams of morphine, and everything stops. And Jamie calms down, he stops hitting himself and stops biting his hands and trying all these things, and everything finally stops. They're able to get some blood, they send it to the lab, and they find that Jamie has an elevated level of ammonia in his body. And apparently that causes quite a bit of pain. And that is due to the Depakote that he takes for his seizures. Now, I don't know all the chemistry behind all that, and I really don't care, okay? But that's what happened. So, knowing what you know, and you just saw Jamie essentially abusing himself, and we will never know the answer to this question because Jamie is nonverbal. But what do you think Jamie was trying, was trying to do with his self-injurious behavior? Yeah, Tompkins has been in here before. But yeah, exactly right. All right? Is, you know, he's possibly trying to tell his mom and everybody else that I'm in pain, okay? A 6-month-old cannot tell you that they're in pain or that they're hungry or that they're tired or that they need their diaper changed. How do they communicate? They cry. Exactly, okay? What's the second thing Jamie was possibly trying to do? Who said that? Chris, exactly, okay? Providing himself some alternative sensory stimulation, okay, other than the pain he's going through, exactly, all right? So just be aware of that, okay? We're going to talk about the time, you know, and y'all notice the time lapse, all right? Started at 5. Mom did narrate that they got him calmed down for a little bit. Then that all started again. And it was 8 o'clock, and the next slide shows it's 40 to 45 minutes later. Okay, so quite a bit of time. And then Mom decides to call 911, okay? And we're going to touch on that aspect of the world of autism here in a little while, okay? So, we may or may not know that we're responding to an individual with autism or that, an individual with autism is actually on the scene. I seriously doubt you're ever going to hear respond to a 25-year-old male with autism, and that's it. No, okay? Like we said before, someone has run away from their home, okay, which is probably more of a police call than us, but if we need to conduct a search, a wide area search, we may be called for that. Seizures will be common, or some kind of other medical problem, okay? Or it's a structure fire, it's a car wreck, okay, and there is an individual on the spectrum on the scene, okay? So, whether or not you know, okay, and you show up and you don't know, but you start to pick up on some of these characteristics, one of the first things we need to do is identify a caregiver, okay? They can give you more information about the individual than you ever want to know, all right? I can sit up here for 8 hours and talk to you about my son, okay? But dealing with other individuals, as I said before, when I made that run on 22s, that, you know, I picked up on that pretty quickly, but I've had training, I've had experience in it, okay? But I can't tell you everything, you know, what's his name, let alone, you know, what's his object of comfort, does he have a place of comfort, what are his characteristics, does he elope a lot, does he get physically aggressive? I don't know any of that stuff, but Mom does, his parents do, okay? So identify that person, and it may not just be a parent. CLS worker, you know, some kind of a therapist or respite worker, any of these individuals up here, okay, can give you a wealth of information. So try to identify that person quickly. And what are we going to ask? Okay, we're going to ask what we always do. All right, some of the things. What's the past medical history? Okay, what medications are they on? Have they been compliant with those medications? Okay, we get a history of autism. And then some of these things we may want to ask, you know, are they going to run away on me? Okay? Are they, you know, do they have a history of trying to hurt themselves? Not necessarily suicidal, but doing similar behaviors like what y'all saw with Jamie. Okay? Or can they become physically aggressive towards me? Okay? If they do, or if they might, then what we need to do is ask the caregiver, okay, what do you do if they start these behaviors? Okay, what works for them? Again, more, you know, they know more than you're ever going to want to know, all right? Also, what have you tried already? You know, did it work? Can we try it again? Do you have to do it 3 or 4 times? You know, whatever that may be. Obtain some behavioral information. Do they have a history of meltdowns? Now, I just read an article, it was a great, this mom was talking about her son and his triggers for meltdowns. We'll talk about triggers here in a second, but if you haven't picked up on it, a meltdown is a very exaggerated temper tantrum, okay? And she did a great job of describing a temper tantrum, compare that to like DEFCON 3, okay? A meltdown, we're at DEFCON 5, okay? We're at nuclear war. And it truly is. Okay, that was a great description of it. Okay, what soothes or calms the individual? Is there an object of comfort? You heard me talk about the gentleman in Portland that passed away, had that hand rake, and it can run the gambit of what these objects are. Okay, you heard Heidi talk about the individual she used to do therapy for with a pencil, okay, as well as that repetitive behavior. My son has 2 objects of comfort. One is a rubber ball, okay, and he wears out a path on our hardwood floors and sprints back and forth across the house bouncing that ball, okay? Knock it out, okay? His second object of comfort is what he calls his stuff. And his stuff is a backpack full of DVDs, mostly because he is a movie buff. And it pretty much goes everywhere with us except for school, okay? But bracelets, stuffed animals. There was a description of some have books. What'd you say, Scott? Huh? Yeah, fidgets. Okay, we've all heard about the fidget spinners. Okay, I love them. Okay, but there's Fidget Cubes. There was another fidget that they gave my son. It was a piece of webbing, of course, hollow in the middle. Okay, about that long. They stuck a marble in it and then sewed both ends shut. Okay, and so you just take it and you move that marble back and forth. That thing is awesome. I mean, I can fool with that thing forever. So I can see how soothing it can be. An object of comfort. Again, run the gambit. All right, they're iPods. All right, object of comfort. So that object, we need to find that object. Okay, and if we're leaving an area, that object needs to go with them. Is there anything to avoid saying or doing in front of the individual? And this is where I'm going to talk about triggers. Okay, ask this question. All right, do they have a trigger word? Okay, some examples are the word no. And it took a mom forever to figure this out. It said it took her years to figure out this was the trigger for my son's meltdowns, was the word no. So she uses something else. Well, maybe we'll do that later, okay? I'll check on that. Okay, well, let's do something else right now. She does anything else, says anything else to avoid saying no. Okay, a couple of other ones I read. Get a grip, stop, okay? My son has a trigger word, and it's fired, F-I-R-E-D, and it's kind of ironic considering what I do for a living, all right? But he associates it appropriately with someone losing their job, but we don't know why it bothers him so. And he's 16 years old now, so he has gotten a whole lot better about controlling himself when he hears that word. Okay, but it would send him into, I'd say, DEFCON 4, not nearly a meltdown, but he gets extremely agitated, and he still does now. Everything stops, even if I say a word that rhymes, like wired or hired. Okay, Daddy, what'd you say? Spell that word. What did you just say? And so I have to spell what I just said, as well as tell him. Okay, but ask the caregiver if there's anything I shouldn't say. Anything I shouldn't do, all right? What is our normal routine for them right now? Heidi brought up Rain Man or Raymond, okay? Every day, 1 o'clock, got to watch Wapner, all right? So we may have to disrupt those routines depending on what's going on, okay? And they can have a routine for everything depending on how they've been taught and been trained. They may have a routine before they have to leave the house. Well, I've got to brush my teeth, I've got to put my clothes on, I've got to, take care of my hair, I've got to put deodorant on, I've got to put my shoes on, I've got to tie my shoes. I've got to get my stuff before I leave the house, okay? We may or may not be able to duplicate that routine, but do the best that you can, okay? It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's time for them to watch Power Rangers and they need to leave the house. Get them outside, as Heidi said, give them their phone. Yes, you may burn some data, okay? But it will save them a ton of heartache, a ton of headache, as well as yourself, okay? So try to duplicate that routine as best you can. What are some things the individual is really good at, all right? Ask the caregiver these things, all right? And Start to talk to them, and they may start talking to you about them, okay? As Heidi said, you're trying to ask your questions that we all ask, the sample questions, the OPQRST stuff, and hey, Luke Skywalker's got a blue lightsaber, okay? Yes, I had to go Star Wars. All right, but that may very well happen. Whatever you know about that subject, go down that road with them. Develop that rapport, gain their trust, and then you may be able to get the answers that you need and get them to do what you want them to do, okay? But take that time. The theme for my part of this presentation is patience, all right? For most of the individuals that we interact with, we can get the answers to our questions within 5 minutes of an interview. Would y'all say that's correct? Pretty close, okay? May take much longer, okay? So be patient with it. You may miss the end of the Super Bowl, okay, or the end of the World Series. Be patient with it. It is what it is, okay? How does the individual communicate? Talking about basically the nonverbal community, all right? We're going to see a video here in a little bit of an individual. He signs as well as communicates through his tablet, through his iPad, all right? And it actually talks for him. It's terrific, okay? They may text, okay? Heidi's brought up some other ways. They may write for you or draw for you, whatever it may be. But if it's a device or if it's a folder full of paper, okay, we're going to see pegboards on the next slide. Whatever those things are, they need to go with that individual, because if they don't, it's just like putting duct tape over our mouths, okay? They can't communicate. So make sure those things go with, and make sure that we communicate either with the individual or with the caregiver. What are these items? Where are they? Let's go. Let's get them and let's go. All right? Here are the pegboards. Picture exchange communication boards. You can Google these. There are thousands of them. All right? Some of the county fire departments are talking about laminating a few of these and sticking them on their apparatus. And you see how they work. Okay? They can form sentences. They can point to how they feel. Okay? What they want. All right? And you can ask them a question. You're going to see it with Creed. Yeah, you're going to see it with Creed on the next slide. You ask them, and just because they're not looking you in the face, and just because they look like they're unresponsive and not paying attention, okay, they hear every word and understand every word. Their receptive language can be perfect, which means they hear everything and understand everything that's coming in, but that wire from brain to mouth doesn't work, so they communicate in other ways, like these, okay? And then wait on the answer as well. If they have processing delays, and you're just going to have to, the caregiver may give you that, or you just may have to wait, all right? So this is Creed, and you're going to see Creed communicating with his mother on his tablet. Yep.
Let's talk about that then. When you engage in those behaviors. When you do that stuff. What happens? If you
Bite hand.
you bite hands,
Yell.
you yell,
No go.
so you no go. Then no sign me yes. You don't get to go. It's a no. Because you bite your hands and you yell and you hit your head. When you do those things, you don't get to go. No, you don't. You get to eat at home. And you get to apologize. That's a no. And you may express yourself and tell me your feelings.
I'm irritated.
You're irritated. I can tell that you're irritated. No, you're not going outside until you've had some food. You need to have sausage.
Why not?
Because your blood sugar's too low. You don't feel well, you're not yourself. It doesn't matter
Eat out.
how many times you say that. You're not eating out right now. You can eat in the kitchen. If you're mad, no, come here. Creed. Think about what you're doing. Sit down. Think about it. Stop. Stop and think.
I want to.
I'm sure you do, but that's not going to happen right now. And you need to calm down and think about it. Nope, Creed. Calm down. Here's the thing. If you yell, nope, don't kiss me right now. You may apologize. You need to calm down. We're not going anywhere. No, we're not. That's fine. You can get a drink from the fridge. No, we're not going anywhere with you hitting and biting your hands. I'm sure you want Bill. Everybody loves Bill. But Bill's not going to save you and take you to Five Guys. No one is.
You're not listening to
I
me.
am listening to you. I know you want to go. You're just hungry because your blood sugar's too low. It makes you have headaches, and it makes you not feel well. And I get that, okay? But you need to calm down. And you need to tell me, do you want to eat the sausage that you pulled out? Yes or no? Do you want the sausage? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to calm down for me?
Yes.
Okay. And what else do you have to say?
Cup.
Yeah, I know you want a cup.
Cup.
You need to say,
Sorry.
okay, and give me kisses. All right? All right, go wait for your sausage, okay?
What'd y'all see? He's on the way. He's getting agitated. Yeah, he's not, I wouldn't say he's at DEFCON 5, but he's on the way. All right, what else?
She never changed her tone of voice with them?
Very good. Yeah. Mom is a saint. Yeah. She did a terrific job there. What else?
Very direct in what she said to him.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff, asking him to do stuff, she was telling him to do.
Exactly.
He was just
Yeah,
stuck.
Ryan's been in here before too.
Same thing over and over, didn't deviate.
Right.
Change your mind.
Right.
No,
Exactly.
It's very structured.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing this because of this and this.
Yep. Okay. Good, guys. All right. Obviously, Creed is nonverbal for the most part. I think he formulated the word no at the very beginning. Okay. But other than that, and he does two ways. If you caught it at the very beginning, he also tried to sign mom yes. Okay. For the most part, he communicates through his tablet. All right. One thing I noticed about Creed, he doesn't make a whole lot of eye contact with mom. Okay, now sometimes obviously he's trying to communicate on his tablet, okay, but still not a whole lot of eye contact. We talked about mom already, okay, and that is a strategy, and that's something we're going to talk about here in a little bit, is maintaining that even keel, okay, because you are looking at the king of Screamer, okay, and my wife, ooh, that's bad, and that's recorded. My wife is like, you can't scream at him. And I know that, and she's absolutely right. And yes, that's very, very sour coming out of my mouth, but that she's right. But it's true, okay? Keep that neutral tone of voice, all right? Now, Creed was also having a little bit of issues with his blood sugar, okay? And we've all dealt with individuals, that are hypoglycemic, okay? So that did add to his agitation. But what else added to his agitation?
He couldn't leave.
Yeah, his mom was telling him no, essentially, right? All right. And that happens with everybody. My favorite parts in there is what he communicates to her is, you're not listening to me. Well, that's got nothing to do with his autism. I mean, that's typical teenager stuff, right? I mean, that, you hear that. I hear that all the time from both of my sons. So, sometimes we got to discern that. Okay, and he's a teenager. All right. So, great video, as well as an example of somebody who communicates in different ways, as well as on the spectrum. I told y'all earlier that I would try to talk to several parents when I was preparing this, and one of them asked me to put something like this in the class. Okay, you should be empathetic with every single conversation you have with a parent, a guardian, or a caregiver. Her experience with first responders was this: her son was having a meltdown, I believe is what she said. Okay, and she tried everything, in her arsenal to stop that meltdown, and nothing was working. And I have no idea how long that, an hour, 2 hours, I don't know, okay? Then, she's out of ideas, she's frustrated, she's exhausted, okay? She finally calls 911, okay? And this was in Louisville, so Louisville Metro EMS is responding, and we know how quickly they get to scenes, okay? And if you didn't pick up on that, that was dripping with sarcasm, okay? But they finally do show up, but between that time she called 911 and they get there, he actually does calm down, okay? But she's still extremely agitated, she's frustrated, okay? And she starts to talk to them, and they're kind of going back and forth. Well, one of them finally spouts off, "What'd you even call us for, lady?" All right? Guys, we're taught from day one, we treat everybody like their family, okay? This is nothing earth-shattering, okay? I'm not looking for sympathy, but what I will tell you is it is a different life, okay? And I realize we all have difficult lives at times, okay? But it can be a very difficult life. Imagine the life that Jamie's mom has, okay? It can be very, very difficult, okay? So just an ounce of sympathy, an ounce of empathy goes a long way, okay? So she asked that I put something in there like that. All right? Calming the situation. You're going to see this word about 5 more times in the next few slides, okay? Very, very important. Control yourself. Stay calm, stay patient, all right? Second bullet point was added from my wife. They can sense your fear and or your judgment. Okay, if they have learned, to pick up on the nonverbal communication or even the verbal communication such as inflections in the voice and those kind of things, as well as body position and body movements, okay? They can possibly pick up on that. Again, just because they're not making eye contact and they look unresponsive to you doesn't mean that they don't pick up on those things. So be aware of what you're saying. Be aware of what you're doing. Okay? Identify and remove any stressors or go to a quieter environment. Okay? Be aware that changes in facial expressions or body movements can be detected. Here we go, Creed's mom. Use a soft, neutral tone of voice with neutral expressions. And short, concise, specific directions. As Chris pointed out, Mom didn't ask, she told. And that's what you need to do. And they need to be very specific. Would you please go over there? Okay, what's wrong with that? Okay, I gave an option, so I had a question. What else was wrong? It's very non-specific. Go over there. Well, where's over there? And so you tell them that, and they're gone. Okay? Go stand over by that tree. Go stand over by that mailbox. Okay? Tie your shoes. You're not asking, you're telling. We have a tendency to try to be polite, okay? Not in this situation, and I'm not saying be stern, okay, but be direct, okay? If you have several things that you want them to do, okay, if it's going to take several steps to complete a task, give them 1, maybe 2 of those steps. Wait for them to complete them, and then move on to 3, 4, and 5, okay? Don't throw them all these directions at once. Can overwhelm them, and you're not going to get anything accomplished. All right? Use simple, direct language when you're asking questions. Allow extended time for responses. We talk about some of them having processing delays. Okay, here's where I get on my soapbox, guys. Only one person should be speaking to the individual at a time. We are the absolute worst about this. Okay? All right? You got Cap standing in the background. He usually keeps his mouth shut. All right, making sure everything's safe, making sure that his guys are doing their job. But then you got Sarge with the clipboard trying to get name, address, age, date of birth, everything else. And then you got 2 firefighters, EMTs, possibly 3, asking all the questions, OPQRST, sample questions, and all doing it at once. And I've had to step in, and Chris was probably there. Guys, 1 at a time. All right, 1 at a time. Now, throw autism on that when you're throwing all these questions, and throw autism on top of that, okay? It can be very overwhelming. 1 person talks at a time. And if it has to happen, yourself, the caregiver, and the individual goes to a separate room, to a quieter environment, and you continue the interview and you conduct your assessments and your treatments there, all right? Take time to build that rapport, okay? Again, I'm going to beat it to death, all right? Ensure that you remain patient. And I've got to say that to myself all the time. All right? There's a reason why the good Lord, or one of the reasons the good Lord gave me my son, and that's to teach me patience, okay? Because I am the king of impatience. Amen. Yes. All right? Let the individual take the lead. I've talked about that already. Go down that road. Okay? Whatever they find interesting, okay, let them talk about it till the cows come home, all right? Don't take rude comments or lack of eye contact personally. Okay? Be prepared for that physical confrontation or for them to bolt. I'm going to stop right here for a second. Captains and acting captains. Okay? If we have to remove them from a situation that's dangerous, such as a structure fire, you may need to assign one firefighter or two, depending on the individual size, to make sure that they don't turn around and bolt back into that environment. Okay? Babysitter, but it is what it is. And to be, you know, it's not the most glamorous job on the fire ground, like RIT, okay? But it does need to happen. We don't want these individuals going back in there and, you know, you've already seen the clips, you already, you know, we've already talked about that. It can happen. Until we can get them secured, you know, a caregiver in their car, back of a police car, an ambulance, maybe even the back of a fire truck, okay? Control yourself. Again, I'm going to say it again. Remain calm, remain patient. All right, so some strategies that you can use, okay? It's nothing earth-shattering, okay? Really, really simple stuff. We use it for everyone, okay? The first one is behavioral momentum, all right? Easy request. Do something that they want to do. You know, talk about the Vietnam War or talk about 65 Mustangs. Okay, art, whatever it is. All right, talk about that for a few minutes. Let them watch Power Rangers on your phone. Okay, build that rapport, then get them to do. You've developed that relationship. Now get them to do what you want them to do. The exact opposite, the Premack principle. It's Grandma's rule. Eat your dinner, you can have your dessert. All right. You're going to come outside with me. I'm going to give you my phone, and you can do whatever you want. Play games, watch YouTube, whatever. Okay? You're going to come outside with me first. All right? Modeling. You may need to show them what you want them to do. If you want them to walk over and stand by the fire truck, then you do that for them. You show it to them. Or draw them a picture. You know, I know Tompkins is a gifted artist. Okay, but anybody else has that gift, Sarge, give me a piece of paper. Draw it for them. Okay? May work, may not. All right? Make sure you reinforce those good behaviors, okay? Make sure to tell them, you know, you're proud of them. Their caregiver, their parents, will be proud of you. You do this for me, okay? Proud of you. Good job, all right? Have I said that enough? All right? Last bullet point, use physical restraint only as a very, very last resort. Most of us, if not all of us, I'm pretty sure we taught you all too, using cravats as a means of physical restraint, okay? What's the problem with these? Yeah, when they start to pull, everything tightens up, okay? So whatever type of restraints we do put on, if we have to use them, what do we need to do every 5 minutes? All right? Check pulses, check motor sensation, distal to where the restraints are, right? Okay? Be very, very careful. We fall underneath Louisville Metro EMS's policies on everything on the medical side, including physical restraints, and they have a policy. So captains and acting captains, I would recommend going back over that policy. Okay? Also be very aware of the laws concerning assault and battery. All right? Just serving as a warning. Okay? We all know how protective we can be of our kids. We all know how protective that their mothers can be. All right? I tell people all the time, you don't want to deal with my wife. Okay? When it comes to if you're mistreating our son, you want to deal with me first because she's going to, I'm not even going to say.
DEFCON 5.
Yeah, DEFCON 5, exactly. All right? So, and they may try to punish you to the full extent of the law if they think that you assaulted their child. Okay? So I'm not trying to scare you, just a warning. Okay? You may want to review those policies and procedures. All right? Be aware that they may not respond appropriately to a uniform or badge. They may not know. I say this very loosely, but for most instances, for most of the time, the public has a respect for first responders. I know it doesn't happen all the time, okay? But the uniform may be completely lost, okay? They may not produce an ID when you ask them, okay? And just, be careful when you're doing some of these things, when you're doing your assessments, when you have to touch them, if you have to, try to find some kind of medical ID, okay? Ask them, ask the caregiver, what bothers them. Is that soft touch? Is that like pins and needles? Okay, is deep pressure harder? Okay, can I check your wrist? Do you want me to hold your wrist for you? Okay. Particularly if the individual is nonverbal. All right. These next few slides, I just wanted y'all to get eyes on and just to be familiar with these things. There are no medications specifically for autism. These meds are used to treat conditions that are commonly found in individuals with autism. They're called comorbidities, okay? First one's ADHD. All right, we're doing part of our sample history, okay? These next few slides just showing you guys some medications, things y'all just might see out there, okay? Some of them are pretty familiar. Ritalin, Adderall, okay? This is what my son takes every day. It's methylphenidate, it's Focalin, helps him concentrate while he's in school, all right? Anxiety and depression, these are probably familiar. Irritability, aggression, self-injurious behaviors, okay? Risperidol, Seroquel, Abilify has been on the TV quite a bit on commercials, all right? And then seizures, and that list is 5 times as long. All right, some of them more familiar though, Tegretol, phenobarbital, Dilantin, Topamax, Depakote. Depakote was what Jamie was on, okay? But again, I just wanted you guys to get eyes on and also be familiar with some of the comorbidities, okay? As I said before, a caregiver will give you more information, or that individual themselves may give you more information than you ever need to know. You're doing history gathering, okay? They start spitting out that they do therapies. Okay, and I would say most individuals on the spectrum that have at least a halfway decent caregiver participate in some kind of therapy. Would I be accurate in saying that?
If not out of school, in school.
Yeah, at least in school, okay, because my son gets both. He gets services through JCPS as well as some private therapies, okay? These are some of the more common ones. This list is 10 times as long. Okay, speech, very common, OT, PT. Okay, again, just wanted you guys to get eyes on. All right. Go ahead.
So some of these kids go on to adulthood and they are able to lead productive,
Yes.
independent lives.
Yes. And you saw examples. Dr. Grandin showed your PhD. Okay, yes, several individuals. And it depends on their level of disability, where they're at on that spectrum, on how much help they need, okay, how quickly they get it, okay, and the opportunities that are afforded to them as well. Unfortunately, what I have found, and I'm sure Heidi sees it at least on a weekly basis, is that there are parents out there who are they're just in denial. Okay, so it may be a long time before the individual gets the help they need, but can have an effect on how productive they are in their adult life. But yes, absolutely. Okay, it is speculated. People like Thomas Jefferson, Albert Einstein had some form of autism, obviously high functioning, but still, different levels. But it's obviously very productive men in our history, right? Okay, good question. Identifiers and devices. Pull up on a car wreck, everybody's unconscious. This is nice. Okay, kid's name, got his diagnosis right there. All right, he has autism. Okay, these are the things I may need to be looking for, be aware of. This little device right here for those that elope. Okay, decide to get out of the car at the intersection of Preston and Outer Loop. All right. Obviously, that's easy to beat for us. We can cut the seat belt. We do that quite often. Stick a key down there, the blade of a knife down there, and unbuckle the seat belt. All right. The Big Red Safety Box is a kit that is distributed by the National Autism Association. Wonderful thing, tons and tons of stuff in it. A few of those things are these stickers right here, okay? Same idea as the I Have Pets or Save My Pets, those stickers that you see on front doors or on windows sometimes, okay? What Heidi is telling me now, though, is that a lot of parents, a lot of caregivers are opting not to use these because it opens them up to predators. Sad commentary, but it's, it's the world we live in, okay? The Big Red Safety Box has all kinds of medical alerts, okay? Possibly even shoe tags. Shoe tags have gotten very popular, okay? If they can't handle that tactile sensation of something around their wrist or something around their neck, okay? Goes on their shoelace. There are locks similar to this, but locks for windows, for doors, again, for that population that elopes. There is also a form in the Big Red Safety Box that can be filled out by the caregiver or the individual themselves and be submitted to MetroSafe or Communications Center, whatever, fire department, police department, whatever. And hopefully the idea is, and it's happened here already with Smart 911, which is up and running here in our community, okay? It's very similar to what we do with dangerous locations, okay? The information is submitted, it's placed into a database, then address pops up, a license plate pops up, and we get a red flag. Maybe dealing with an individual with autism. And depending on the information that was submitted, you may get all kinds of information about the individual. Okay, how old they are, can they be physically aggressive? What are their triggers? What are strategies that worked? Whatever the family or themselves, what they have submitted. Okay, but it's a terrific form. Okay, and that's all found in the Big Red Safety Box. Just some things y'all may see out there. All right, as well as this. Thank you. It's a national program. It's a national program. It's adopted by Kentucky. Anybody ever heard of this? The Yellow Dot program? You have? Okay. According to Colonel Delaney, and I trust him because he's got that photographic memory. All right. There was a memo about this about 2 years ago. I don't remember it. All right.
I saw that there.
Yeah. But what this is this is actually a little decal right here, okay? It's supposed to go in the lower left corner of the driver's side rear window. I've actually pulled up behind a car here in Louisville and they had it on the license plate. And that's fine, okay? But the idea is we pull up, we see that decal, okay? And it may even be at a house, but we can go looking for these folders. Obviously in a car, the glove box, the console, in a house, maybe the junk drawer, the medicine cabinet, okay? And this is not specific for autism. Okay, this is for anyone. Pull up on a car with a family of 4, you'll find 4 of these folders, and it's got everything inside that you need to know. Okay, name, date of birth, and all the history. Okay, there's even a place for a picture. Okay, the ones that the Kentucky Autism Training Center are distributing, they have placed a stamp down here under history for autism. Okay, but a wonderful, wonderful program. Just be aware, you may see these out there. Okay. Last little slide we're going to watch. You're only going to watch for a few seconds, but you're going to see some first responders dealing with individuals with autism. Y'all tell me what they do right. Tell me what they do wrong.
How would you react if you had a child with autism who wandered away from home? How would your child react if approached by a police officer or first responder with no prior knowledge of your child's condition? These concerns give nightmares to parents of children with autism.
Just relax, okay?
Planning for every situation is impossible, but help during a crisis is available.
So the first clip there, little boy being escorted from his home, looks like by 4 firefighters. What'd y'all see? Too many of them. Yeah. Yeah, 2 of them were on air. Now that's a situation that may not be avoided, okay? I will tell you right now that I used to do the fire prevention thing for my son's school and he hates my fire gear. Okay, it was a it almost was a trigger. He had to leave the room. He couldn't stand it. So, but that's something that may or may not be avoidable. Okay, but yes, too many people around, the fire gear, what else?
There was no parent or caretaker.
It's possible, yeah. Maybe they haven't identified him yet, but that's, man, I hope to God that that kid, and it looks like he was well kept though. Had a nice coat on, so I'm sure they were close, but maybe they hadn't identified her yet, or him, excuse me. Right. What else? Yep. What else? Now I'm sure they didn't do this intentionally, okay, but they did pull his arms down away from his ears, okay? All that auditory sensation, sensory input coming in, he's trying to hold his ears, okay? Second clip, looked like the back of an ambulance. All right, expand. Yeah. What was the kid trying to do? Trying to calm himself, okay? And it looks like, yeah, he was trying to stop him from doing that. He's not hurting anybody. All right? Let him stim. Let him do that stuff. Okay? If you're afraid he's going to bolt, close the door. All right? Now, I've never said this before, but one thing I did notice is that paramedic that was doing that, but he was also staying very calm. His voice was very neutral, okay, and he was very relaxed. So it was a good job by him. Just let the kid stim, all right? Resources that we use to put this together, as well as what you can use if you want to do further research into autism. Autism Speaks, National Autism Association, they are who puts out the Big Red Safety Kit. Okay, Kentucky Autism Training Center, where Heidi is employed. She is an excellent, excellent resource. Okay, I will sing her praises, as well as the organization that she works for. All right, Bluegrass Center for Autism. FEAT is nationally renowned. They do have a chapter here in Louisville. Okay, and a couple other ones up there. All right. If y'all want to do some further research, there's where you can go. You can Google autism and find more information. You know, just be careful, you know, with what you read. Compare it to several different sources, okay? Any questions?